Hi everyone, my name is Mimi and welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to be reacting to My Hero Academia Season 8, the final season, Episode 6, Branch It Open, Izuku Midoriya. Last episode, Midoriya made the choice to give up One for All, and they are going to experiment by giving him forcefully giving Shigaraki Kudo and his quirk. And that's the episode. I said during my discussion that I felt like I was confused about things. And when I'm editing that reaction, that I was going to slow down, right, and read through everything again and try to understand better what's going on. And two things that I wanted to mention when they were inside of their mind space where all the holders are. And then there was a person pointing a finger somewhere. There was All Might in his yellow form, right? And then there were, I believe Kudo was next to him, I think. And then there was a someone pointing the finger somewhere and all of that. And I'm like, who's pointing the finger or whatever? It was Star, okay? I didn't realize it but at first, but it was Star that was pointing the finger. She was calling to All Might and was basically pointing to that hole inside of Shigaraki where that little kid is, you know. And yeah, so one is that. And then the second one is that I was wondering myself, like, I don't know, when they were talking about forcefully giving things to him, I didn't particularly get it because I believe it was N that was worried that if they just gave Kudo to Shigaraki, that he was just gonna be using him. So like, how is that gonna work? And then at that point, Kudo asked Midoriya, how does your best friend give things to you? And then they showed Bakugo flinging things in his face and, with force. And then he's basically saying that when he does things like that, throw things like hard at Midoriya, either the thing that he's giving him is gonna get destroyed, hurt, whatever. It's not gonna be in the same condition that he was. And then Midoriya himself, that he's flunging the thing, so it's gonna get hurt as well. So it's sort of like that situation where when they force the Kudo and his quirk into Shigaraki, that either Shigaraki is gonna get hurt or his quirk is gonna destroy itself or something or other like that. And but then he also said that even if um Shigaraki was going to use his quirk or whatever, since Midoriya at that point was feeling the recoil of his quirk, that recoil that made Midoriya not being able to move, that it was going to be affecting Shigaraki as well. So yeah, like I said, when I'm watching that, when they're talking and explaining things, at first go through, it's like I don't fully get it, so I have to slow down, and go through everything again. So yeah, those are the two things I guess that was sort of like confusing me during that episode. So before we get into this one, if you guys like my reaction, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/feelimini. And now let's start this episode, and here we go.
Okay, guys, in case the reaction gets blocked and I had to cut out the reaction itself, you can just look in the pinned comment in the comment section where for the link to the reaction highlight itself, so you can just click on it, watch it, and then you just come back for my review.
黒鞭で無理やり動かしてやがる。実戦からのアイデアを即応用。なんて使い方を。こいつ自身が抱く個性への憧れこそがワン・フォー・オールを輝かせる。
Yeah, oh, because ever since the beginning, you see him with his notebook, and you know okay, this hero has this quirk. Oh, with this quirk you can possibly do this. He studies quirks. Oh, I like that Kudo is able to recognize that in him. Like, if you have this quirk, how can you use it? All the different ways you can use it, possible ways you can use it. Is like he thinks about it. No. He's a Midoriya.
変則なしで死柄木のスピードを攻略し2代目をぶつける。渡したいと思った相手に DNA を取り込ませる。別に DNA を取り込めるなら何
Oh.
主が渡したいと思った相手にしか譲渡
Yeah, Shigaraki does want it.
血を媒介に傷からを渡す。傷ができるのはインパクトの一瞬。
And then transfer it to him then.
さっきの攻撃何か嫌なものを感じた。
Perfectly frack. He has dangerous sense.
切り離したがまだ何か企んでいる。
What is up to something? He's always up to something.
いいさ、何度だって壊してやる。お前もこの国も全部。
Is he gonna try to bypass him and go for Mount Fuji? Okay. Go.
俺が今一番使いどころないでしょ。
No.
なんで？出てもお前は守らざる。パパをして地面をえぐって、こんなでかいのをいつの間に。奇襲に国差を出して地面をえぐり分けていた。マント、スナイパー戦で使ったデコイ。血にサーチ反応。
What?
待て、この光、そういうことか。遅い。サーチは見た者の位置を認識する。譲渡の意志を込めることで DNA に分割された2代目が宿る。それを直前に放出。言えてることを逆利用し煙幕で作った距離5人の不意打ち。こいつ自身が抱く9代目。
How can you not be proud of him?
これを食らってはいけないぞ。意識が取り込まれる。死柄木のものになる前に。
My God, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. Why is so awesome? He's in there.
生で見ると気色悪いな。
Why is he remembering this? What's going on?
ヒーローに。トラキ君との2回戦。
Mm-hmm.
スピナー。なんだこれ。2人の記憶が交錯しているのか。聞いてるよ。2代目がやった。けどまだ不十分だ。手を緩めるな。
Oh, keep giving what?
とりあえず第一関門突破って感じにすごいわ二人とも。
I was wondering when the like the final, not the final episode, but the attack on first season, the boat, the water.
お前たちリーダーの譲渡で臨界点に達したんだ。だがどれほど無体な力を得ようと心はここだったんだ。得た意味はここに。
Oh, I was saying goodbye to you right now. He's trying to stop him because he feels it, He feels what's happening. it failed. Yeah, that's what I thought. It failed.
円だけがかろうじて譲渡された。ダメージはそのおかげさ。つまり指からは渡せない。あれは爪や墓のようなものか。
You gotta find like his body or something or other. Uh, isn't that all for one?
近づいてる。無駄じゃなかった。何度だって試してやる。
But the fingers are sort of protecting him, though. We need to like get rid of the fingers. Ah,
避難を手伝おう。怪我人を頼むよ。動けない人がいたら教えてくれ。集計映った。あ、なんだこりゃ。化け物かよ。エリちゃん。
Eddie, where you going? What are you trying to do?
テクさん、助けないと。乗ってきたので戻れば。
今は動かせない。それに巻き戻しのエネルギーもいけたとしてもそれではほとんど意味がない。
Almost. Excuse me.
ちょっとダンプカーに惹かれたけど、相沢先生元気だよ。
気持ちは痛いほどわかるが我々は信じるしかないんだよ。
エリちゃんの夢か。じゃあ僕もなおさら頑張らなくちゃ。緑谷兄ちゃんはすぐな。
Oh,
僕も泣き虫だから。
oh, yeah.
兄ちゃんが頑張ってるとね。
答えろよ。お前がここで休んだら俺たち元の暮らしに戻るのかよ。
Those episodes made me cry, man.
全部取り戻します。
It was like at least 4 or whatever 5 episodes till the end of last season. It's like crying every episode. I mean, not really.
ねえよ桃、コミックでよくあるじゃんね。
そのような作品にはまだ出会えてなくて。
緑谷さ、多分今世界で一番強いのになんでだろうな。
You feel sad?
オールマイトみたくもう大丈夫って思えねえんだよな。心配すんのは信用してねえってことになるのかな。
負傷者の名前、遊泳の子、グラビティみたいな名前の。
ラビティ、あの子だ。
力を貸してください。
全員が少しだけみんなのことを思えたなら。
Won't the world be a better place?
なんで私が緑谷に着いたか。
ヴィラン退治はいかに早く戦意喪失させるかだからな。
多分今もそうなんだ。
Oh, he's wrenching Shigaraki's heart open. Oh.
ついつい応援したくなっちまう。頑張れ。
やめろテッド。
No hands, right? So only Nana didn't go through, or is she the only one that went through?
私だけ弾き返された。なんで？
Because you're his grandma.
憎まれてるからじゃない。
It's not because she's hated. I don't get that.
全ての崩壊だ。それだけが俺を救うんだ、ヒーロー。過去を暴いて何が変わる。死柄木から見た僕の姿。でも知らないまま終わるのは嫌だ。死ね。お
No.
邪魔します。
Trying to trying to kill him.
物理的に
Wow.
干渉してる。
Oh, well, you better be careful then.
君も継承者として精神が形取られてるから干渉し合う。すまない。
でもそばにまだいてくれて僕嬉しい。
Yeah, so they could both see what Shigaraki went through as a kid.
触れて奴の原点を打つんだ。
だからこうなる。
Not staying.
君は何を背負い、
I don't care about you. Daddy holding that picture.
この人おばあちゃんなんだって。
See, I'm like he needs to see this.
あの黒いのは死柄木。
You know what I was thinking? That I'm definitely gonna be putting this episode at the end of my reactions for next week. I mean this episode, My Hero Academia. My reaction to My Hero Academia, the next episode. I'm gonna put that at the end of all my reactions for the day because I feel like it's gonna be emotional and I may be crying. And usually when I'm emotional and crying, I don't want to do anything else after that. So it's like, yeah, because even this episode, I felt myself becoming emotional at some point in the episode, especially at the end there. You know, when Deku tried that last punch to try to transfer everyone to Shigaraki, and Nana was the only one that was left behind. And she's like, it's because of my own weakness. And I'm like, okay, I'm not totally sure what she means by that. But then when Deku showed up in Shigaraki's memories, that house, and Nana was right next to him, and I'm like, okay, she needs to see this. She needs to know what made Shigaraki who he is, because she was not there for her son, for her grandson, for the family. She was not there. She was out being a hero. So she doesn't know how her leaving her son behind has affected everything. So when she saw her son, first of all, they first showed her the picture of that she took with her son when he was a little kid, right? And then the next thing she sees is her grown-up son punching Shigaraki. You know, you saw the way Midoriya reacted, right? When he saw that guy punch the little kid, his first instinct was to like jump in there. There was that small instinct that was like, okay, let me jump in here and stop this dude, you know. And then he noticed that the little boy on the floor was Shigaraki. So it's like both of them knew that in that moment that the father was the villain, basically, you know. So it's like they need to go through this so that they can better understand Shigaraki and so that Deku can better understand how to help him, you know. Because despite all the negative, he's killed so many people, Shigaraki. He was so evil, but behind all of that, there was this little kid, you know, whose dream was to become a hero. And the father basically destroyed that inside of him, And then you have One for All's influence and all of that. It made him who he was, that they're fighting currently. So it's like they need to get to the root of who Shigaraki is so that they can better help him. And I feel like next episode is gonna be emotional because I remember myself when they were talking about Shigaraki's history. I was emotional during that episode. So I anticipate myself becoming emotional, especially seeing, well, first of all, how I was, well, my emotions as I'm watching Shigaraki basically go through this again. And then the emotions of Deku and Nana also going through this. So it's like, I feel like it's gonna be, so yeah, I'm putting that way at the end of all my reactions for next week. Shigaraki sensed it when Deku was in that form, and he's like, wait, how is he that at the point where he was, he should be worried about this and this, but he's not. It's like there's something in his eyes and all of that. And I was worried that since he also has danger sense, that he might be able to avoid this, find a way to not receive One for All. But he was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to destroy you and I'm going to destroy this place. And oh my goodness. Izuku Midoriya. This episode reminded you of who he is at the core. Basically, like since the beginning of this show, which is someone who loves quirks, someone who loves to study how people use their quirks and try to find ways to use the quirks differently. This episode was the epitome of that. We've seen him do like mix his quirks in I guess different ways before, but I don't know, I felt like this one made it even. This cough is not going away. I've been dealing with it, I feel like, for months. So like I was saying, I feel like this episode brought that to the forefront even more. Like, I don't know. First of all, the first punch that he did that sent Kudo in there, that worked. Oh, that worked. What am I talking about? It was all the things that he did to send that first punch in that was like amazing, that brought all of that to the forefront, because I feel like I cannot describe like everything that happened, but it was like, okay, N was like, okay, I'm the most useless right now with my small screen, and that was the first. Was that the first thing that he did? I don't know. I'm not gonna remember everything. Like, he used small screen. He used Black Whip because Deku Shigaraki was like on the floor about to use the gate, but this boy had already, like way back when, used Black Whip to go underground and carve out a space to lift Shigaraki up, because that's basically the system that they used when they were trying to protect Yue. And then there was like, I love that way they showed, okay, when he did this, they also showed sort of like a backstory of where he learned it from. So it's like he's taken all of his experiences and he used that to his advantage when it came to try to punch Kudo into him. It was amazing. Like, I loved it. And so Kudo went in And then he tried the second time around, like with all of the holders, everyone together, but they were rejected because I believe the point of contact that they used was the fingers that were all around Shigaraki, and he's like, nah, that those are not gonna work. So he needed to like a better place of contact and whatever. So he kept trying to find that. And then he found it at one point, and everyone went in except Nana, who got rejected. And then she's like, it's because of my own weakness. I'm not quite sure what that weakness is, because when she said that, I believe they showed uh, uh, Shigaraki's father when he was a little kid, basically, I guess, telling Nana not to go or something or other like that. So I'm not sure how that relates to her own weakness. Um, and then at one point they showed like everybody else, you know, that Kaminari and Yao Momo moment where they're seeing what Deku is doing, and then Kaminari is like, even though Deku is the strongest among them right now, why does it not feel like everything's gonna be okay? You know? And then when he said that, my mind went to All Might. Because when All Might is on the scene, everyone feels like everything's gonna be okay, you know. But he wasn't feeling that right now when it came to Deku. But then his next sentence was that, does that mean that I don't fully trust him? When he said that, that's where like it went straight to my heart, you know. I was feeling emotional at that point. And then they showed Eddie and Uta, I believe. They want to help, but there's really not anything that they can do. And then they showed Nagon that was like, why am I helping Midoriya? And then she's like, because he, uh, there was another hero next to her that was saying that Midoriya basically saps the villains of their will to fight. And he does that by wrenching apart their heart, which made the title of this episode make sense. Wrench it open. Izuku Midoriya. Did I say Mizuku? Izuku Midoriya. You know? And then you see everyone watching him. And then that one person that was remembering, like, back that season where he was asking Izuku if they let him back into the school, if everything was gonna go back to the way it was before. And like I was saying during those episodes, I was just crying because Izuku is like, I need to do this all alone. And then there are his friends are like, no, we're not gonna let you. And it was just like, I was just straight crying during those episodes. Ah, yeah, yeah. Uh, um, uh-huh. There was a point in the episode where they were talking about Oraviti being hurt and she was being taken to the hospital, and um I believe it was Ox that was on the floor, and I don't quite remember exactly what he was saying, but for some reason, seeing him say whatever it was that he said, and then seeing everyone watching Izuku, and they're basically sort of like prayerful looks, that please do it kind of looks and all of that. I just My mom was just thinking, I don't know why, that at some point like everyone there was gonna, you know how Goku, when he's doing the spirit, what about the spirit gun? That's another show. The spirit gun. Um, what am I forgetting what it's called? Where he's just there and everyone like out on Earth is basically giving him his spirits, and then he makes that giant whatever and then throws it. For some reason, I was thinking that something similar was gonna happen when it comes to Midoriya, you know. that there's gonna come a point where, you know, currently he's giving all his quirks to um Shigaraki, and he was originally quirkless, you know. So what happens if he transfers? Well, I don't. It's not gonna stop immediately, because that's not what happened when it came to when All Might transferred his powers to him, his quirks to him. There was a time where All Might was still able to use his quirk until, I guess, the transfer fully happened or something or other, and then he's not able to use it. So I guess um Deku's gonna have still gonna be able to use one for all, right? Because I was thinking at one point that there's gonna come a point where he's not gonna have any quirks, and then I don't know, somehow all the people there are gonna give him something. Whatever. It was nice to see those memories when everything was merging together. And then they were seeing all those memories, but now like a mix of Shigaraki and Deku's memories, you know, seeing all those flashes of moments that have happened during their story. It was nice. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like this reaction, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and if you want to see my reaction to the next episode, the link is gonna be in the pinned comment, so you can just click on it and you can watch it right now, and you can also catch up with all my previous My Hero Academia reactions. There's a playlist in the comment as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. So even though Mamula Correspond will be there with the little title that I won't go shallow, gonna be a player, super slayer, just call me.